Hey everyone, welcome to Silva Emporium. Today we're going to be doing a deck tech for Malcator Purity Overseer. I like to call this deck Blinky the Elephant Loves Blinking. Of course, Silva Emporium, we are a collective of MTG fanatics, I guess is the best way to put us. We love cracking packs and making decks and doing Magic the Gathering stuff. So today we're going to be doing the deck tech on Malcator Purity Overseer. If you want to, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. So let's get started. So Malcator Purity Overseer. So when he enters the battlefield, you create a 3/3 Phyrexian Golem artifact creature token, and then at the beginning of your end step, if there are 3 or more artifacts that enter the battlefield under your control, this turn you create a 3/3 Phyrexian Golem artifact creature token. So it's all about making golems. So we're going to start with lands. So this deck, we have 32 lands in total. So we're going to start with our non-basic lands. So we have Adagia Windswept Bastion. So I added this land from Edge of Eternities just because it's pretty interesting to be able to create tokens of your artifacts and enchantments. So you can copy an artifact or enchantment once you've stationed it with 12 plus, except it's a legendary. So you can only copy it once, but it is nice to be able to copy those artifacts and enchantments. So Archway of Innovation comes into play untapped if you control an island. Does improvise with the amount of golems that we're able to produce in this deck. Improvise is good to be able to reduce those costs of our cards. Academy Ruins is nice to be able to recur artifacts if there's some artifact hate. And the Deserted Beach is just a cost-effective dual land. Nimbus Maze is a cost-effective Flood Farm Verge before Flood Farm Verge existed. Of course, Command Tower. And then we have our suite of artifact lands with Seed Synod, Ancient Den, and Razortide Bridge. And then we have our basics, which we have 12 islands and 11 plains. So for a total of only 32 lands, it's not too heavy on the lands in this deck, but it is not too necessary to have a lot of lands in this deck, namely because we have a lot of ramp in this deck. But we'll get to that in a minute. So I wanted to start first with our suite of tokens. So we have 13 token generators in this, or token cards in this deck. So we'll start with our token generators. So we have 7 different token generators. So we have Blade Splicer. So when it comes into play, it creates a 3/3 Golem artifact token. Of course, the errata is this is a Phyrexian Golem, and it is a Phyrexian Human Artificer. It gives Golems first strike. Master Splicer, again, the errata is a Phyrexian Golem and the Phyrexian Human Artificer, again making that 3/3 Golem and giving Golems +1/+1. Wing Splicer, again, Phyrexian Human Artificer. Again, you can see Artificers are heavy in this deck, making a 3/3 Phyrexian Golem and giving all Golems flying. Sensor Splicer, it makes a 3/3 Golem and gives all the Golems vigilance. Darksteel Splicer gives all Golems indestructible and makes X Phyrexian Golems, 3/3 Golems, which X is the number of opponents you control. Now, this occurs when it comes into play or when a non-token Phyrexian enters. So for all those other Splicers, when they come into play, if he's on the field, then you're making X 3/3 Golems equal the number of opponents you have. So that's pretty interesting. We put in Phyrexian Triniform just because it's a Golem itself, and then when it dies, you create 3 Phyrexian Golems. And then, of course, with Encore, if you bring it back, it makes those Golems when it dies as well. Now, not a Golem in the deck, but a nice card to have, Illustrious Wanderglyph. With the Sin, it gives all your other artifact creatures +2/+2 if you have the City's Blessing. And then at the beginning of each upkeep, you get to put a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token into play. That builds up very quick, and with the City's Blessing, which you get very quickly with putting those gnomes into play, they become 3/3s very quickly. So those are our token generators. Our next part is our doublers. So we have Anointed Procession, which would double our creature tokens, or our tokens when they come into play under our control. We have Mondrak, the Glory Dominus. So again, doubling those tokens when they come into play. And then we have Exalted Sunborn. Again, doubling those tokens when they come into play. Our next part is, again, dealing with the tokens, is our token doublers when they enter. So we have Starfield Vocalist, Panharmonicon, and then we put in Elshnorn, Mother of Machines. So that all of those, when a permanent enters the battlefield, if it triggers the ability, it triggers an additional time. Elshnorn, Mother of Machines also gives us the benefits that permanents entering the battlefield for our opponents don't trigger the abilities. So that gives us a little bit of stacks. So that's our token focus on the deck. The next part that we're going to talk about is the blink part of the deck. So that's the next major focus of it. So the first part of that is we have 5 end of the turn blink effects. So we have Soul Herder, which when a creature's exiled, you get a +1/+1 counter on Soul Herder, and at your end step, you exile target creature you control and then return it to the battlefield. That's a Deep Dwelling. Again, at your end step, you exile another target creature and then return it to the battlefield. Y'shtola is pretty nice because you exile another creature, but if you have an additional end step. So then all those other ones that have the end step, you're going to be able to trigger those again. We also put in Teleportation Circle, which can do creature or artifact, and then as well as Conjurer's Closet. So those would be able to blink your splicers to be able to bring in more golems. Then we have our activation blinkers. So we have Abuelo, where you can exile another target creature or artifact and then return it to the battlefield with an activated ability. Displacer Kitten, so whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you're able to exile one target non-land permanent and then return it to the battlefield. And then we put in Venser to be able to +2 exile target permanent you own and return it to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. Venser is also nice to be able to make it so your creatures can't be blocked this turn. And then, of course, if you do the alt, you can get it so whenever you cast a spell, you can exile target permanent. So those are the activated ability blinks. And then we have 8 instant spells that are blink. So we have Ephemerate, which has Rebound, exile target creature you control. Cloud Shift, exile target creature you control. Momentary Blink, exile target creature to control, and then return it to the battlefield, which has flashback as well. Eerie Interlude, which exile any number of target creatures you control, then return them to the battlefield on the next end step. Lae'zel's Acrobatics, which exile all non-token creatures you control, then roll a d20, which you can then, with that d20, return all the battle creatures on the next end step, or return them to the battlefield and then return them again at the next end step. Ghostly Flicker, which is again exile 2 artifacts, creatures, and or lands, and then return them to the battlefield. Displace, exile up to 2 creatures you control and return them to the battlefield. And then, of course, Illusionist Stratagem, which then exiles up to 2 target creatures you control, return them to the battlefield, and then draw a card. Give us a little bit of card draw and blink effects. So those are our 16 blink effects. So the next part we're going to go to is our ramp. So our ramp, we have 10 cards. So 7 of those are our basic suite of artifact ramp. So we have Soul Ring, Sky Diamond, Marble Diamond, Azoria Signet, Talisman of Progress, Arcane Signet, and Thought Vessel. Just a basic suite of artifact ramp, just making it so that we have a good amount of ramp. That's why we don't have as many lands. So, sorry about the camera there. Our situational ramp we have is Cloud Key. So, based off what we have drawn, or when we draw Cloud Key, we can choose artifact, creature, enchantment, instant, or sorcery, whatever we need to reduce at that time to be able to ramp towards. Then we have Ethereum Sculptor to make our artifacts cost less. And then, of course, we have Sad Robot or Solemn Simulacrum, ramping for the land. He's also a golem, so he benefits off the splicers. And he also is card draw when and if he dies. So that's our ramp package. The next one we're going to go to is our draw package. Now for draw, we have 9 cards for our draw. So 4 of those are just basic spells for it. So we have Brainstorm, be able to draw 3 cards, put 2 cards from our hand on top of our library. Stock Up, which is a very, very good card. Absolutely killer in standard right now. So look at the top 5 cards of our library, put 2 in our hand and the rest on the bottom library in any order. Thoughtcast with the affinity for artifacts, draw 2 cards for 4 in blue. And then again, another affinity for artifacts for Voyage Home. Draw 3 cards and gain 3 life with affinity for artifacts. We have 2 enchantments for our draw package with Candlekeep Sage, which this is really good with our commander. So whenever he enters or leaves the battlefield, we draw a card with our blink effects with our commander, making more golems. So if he enters the battlefield, we'll draw a card. And if he leaves the battlefield, we'll also draw a card. And then, of course, Thopter Spy Network. So, beginning of our upkeep, if we control an artifact, we'll create a Thopter, which is more token generation. So, we'll double up with the doublers. And then, of course, if one or more artifacts, creatures deal combat damage to a player, we'll draw a card. And then we have our creatures that we have. So, we have Lochiel, which will prevent all combat damage that are attacking artifact creatures we control. And of course, if one or more artifacts creatures enter the battlefield under our control, we'll draw a card. Dowerport Mage, so with our blink effects, when one or more other creatures you control leave the battlefield without dying, we draw a card. And then he can return another target creature to our hand. And then with Thought Monitor, which is the affinity for artifacts, when he enters the battlefield, we draw 2 cards with blink effects. That's an easy way to draw cards. And with our enter the battlefield's doublers, it increases that as well. The next part we're going to go to is our anthems. So we have 5 anthem cards. One of those is a Sid. Now, with the anthems, I'm still kind of balancing on whether or not I want to actually just put 5 Sids in here. With the Phyrexians, the Splicers all being artificers, having Sids in here would make it so that if they're in the graveyard or in play, it would beef up the golems really well. But, we're only running 1 Sid as of right now, but Sid is a good way to beef up our golems. We are running an Urza, Prince of Krug, so artifact creatures get +2/+2, and then we can create a copy that's a target artifact that we control, except it's a 1/1 soldier and it's additional types. Salvation Engine, which is a vehicle. Other artifact creatures we control get +2/+2. Then when it attacks, we can return up to 1 target artifact from our graveyard to the battlefield. Crew 6 is not a big deal with the anthems that we have in play. Those golems get pretty big pretty quick. Tempered Steel is just a really easy anthem that we can give our artifact creatures +2/+2. And then we're running Inspiring Leader. So our commander is generally out in play pretty often, so creature tokens get +2/+2. All right, that's our anthem package. Then we have our removal. We don't have a whole lot of removal in here, but we have 5 pieces of removal. 4 of that is targeted removal. with dispatch, where we're running a lot of artifacts again. You know, three or more artifacts in play: exile a target creature, of course, Swords to Plowshare, Path to Exile, and where we're Golem tribal deck. Meteor Golem is a nice way to do that, and of course with the blink effects, it's a recurring ability. And then we have Organic Extinction. Generally, that's a game ender for us unless we're running against another artifact deck. But if we need to clear the board for our golems, that's the way we do it. Next, we're running counter magic in here. We have 5 counter spells. 2 of them are for any, so we have Arcane Denial for 2, and then just a basic counter spell, and then we have 3 non-creature counter spells with an Offer You Can't Refuse, Negate, and Dovin's Veto. And then finally, we have our other category. I just didn't have a way to really force these into any of our other categories. So with this, we have Encroaching Mycosynth. Encroaching Mycosynth makes all of our non-land permanents our artifacts in addition to their other types. Same as for permanent cards that we control in non-land permanents that aren't on the battlefield. So it turns all of our items that are non-land permanents into artifacts. So our recur abilities are able to get everything back with Encroaching Mycosynth in play, which is pretty nice. With another recur ability, we have Archaeomancer. So with the blink effects, we can actually blink Archaeomancer to be able to get those blink effects back. So we can get the double blinks back with Archaeomancer, returning instants and sorceries from our graveyard to hand. Rootborn Defenses. It's a cost-effective version of Flawless Maneuvers, in our deck right now. So creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn, and then we populate, again, making more tokens. And then finally, for the last card in our deck, we have Bronze Guardian. This just gives all of our artifacts Ward 2. And it's a golem upon itself, so, and it's just a big beef card in our deck. So, and that's the last card in our 100. So to wrap it up, that's my Malcator Purity Overseer, or Blinky the Elephant Loves Blinking. So this is only a core deck. It's a bracket 2. There's no game changers in it. I know that this could be better. We could be running a Rhystic Study. We could be running Enlightened Tutor. We could be running so much more, like Teferi's Protection. This is a casual deck, so it's not trying to make the a CDH or trying to really do anything. This is a very casual deck. So definitely, if you want to, if you have any suggestions, go ahead and throw it out there. But do keep in mind, this is a casual. Let's play a little bit of Magic and have fun. It does get crazy every now and then. I did play a game in which I had 17 golems on field by turn 6. So it can be fun. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. Really appreciate it. Again, if you want to follow us, we are on Instagram at Sylvan_Emporium. We're on TikTok at Sylvan.Emporium. We're on Facebook at Sylvan Emporium, YouTube at Sylvan Emporium. You can join our Discord at Sylvan_Emporium. Of course, like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks, and next week we'll be doing Chatterfang, so we appreciate you guys, and again, we'll see you next week. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.